Hello students, welcome back to SCC online chemistry classes. This is lecture number 10. This is lecture number 10 on the topic coordination compounds. Well, dear students, as a recapitulation, from the last video, you have come to know regarding the crystal field theory and crystal field splitting in the octahedral complexes. As a recapitulation, as the 5 degenerate d orbitals of the metal ion that splits into 2 sets, namely Eg, higher energy level set Eg, T2G, lower energy set, into 2 splits, into 2 sets, the splitting of d orbital into 2 sets, namely Eg and T2G, we have seen in the last class. Take the application of crystal field splitting in the tetrahedral complexes. Come on, the question is this type. Explain crystal field splitting in tetrahedral complex. With the help of energy level diagram. With the help of energy level diagram. Well, dear students, when the complex is octahedral, the central metal atom which going to surrounded by 6 ligands. But in the tetrahedral complex, the central metal ion or atom is going to surrounded by 4 ligands. See, here I can say the repulsion between the metal atom or ion with the ligand is noticed less in the case of tetrahedral complexes. See, metal atom which is going to surrounded by 4 ligands. So this is going to surrounded by 4 ligands. See, as you have 4 ligands, so in this there are 4 ligands surrounding the metal atom. Earlier in the octahedral there were 6 ligands surrounding the metal ion. When there were 6 ligands, the repulsion between the metal ion and the orbitals of the metal ion and the orbitals of the ligand, repulsion was noticed more, but the repulsion is less due to the presence of 4 ligands. With these 4 ligands, so here the splitting is quite inverted. When you notice it in the octahedral complex into higher energy Eg, lower energy T2G, that gets converted in the case of tetrahedral complexes. Let's see diagrammatically. So what is this? It is the energy axis. So as the 5 degenerate orbitals, the degenerate orbitals of the metal ion so gets excited. So in the excited state you have 5 degenerate d orbitals. So here, due to the lesser repulsion, why there is a lesser repulsion? Because these 4 ligands, not necessarily tetrahedral, I have shown you 4 ligands. See, the metal atom is surrounded by 4 ligands. That's enough. As it is surrounded by 4 ligands, the repulsion is minimum. Why the repulsion is minimum? These 4 ligands, they were not oriented. These are d orbitals of the metal ion in the tetrahedral complex, they were not oriented. So here these were not oriented along the direction of the ligands. See, these 5 degenerate d orbitals, 5 degenerate d orbitals of the metal ion, it gets split into two sets. So what is reverse? Here you have 3 and into 2. So this what is called T2Z. So into reverse of octahedral, just reverse of octahedral. This is EZ, this is T2Z. EZ, T2Z. Here you have dx square minus y square and dz square. Here you have dxy. What are the orbitals here? You have dxy, quite down I write. So dxy, dyz, dxz. So these are the orbitals that gets split up into EZ, lower energy set, and this is higher energy set. Exactly, quite contrast. The splitting is just inverted when you compare with the octahedral splitting. In the octahedral, what has been seen? The 5 degenerate d orbitals were split up into EZ, dx square minus y square dz square, higher, dxy, dyz, dxz, lower, but quite inverted in the case of tetrahedral complexes. Just you have to remember one of the splitting. See, if you remember the octahedral splitting, definitely this you will get as a complementary, because the octahedral splitting is quite inverted in the case of tetrahedral splitting. See, these dxy, dyz, dxz, they were not exactly, these orbitals of the metal ion are not exactly oriented towards the ligand, but quite closer to the ligand. Since they were oriented quite closer to the ligand, what happens? They do repel. There is a repulsion. Because of the repulsion, what happens? There we notice a rise in their energy. So, by what unit? You can see a rise in the energy, just quite opposite. You can see a just rise in the energy in the case of T2Z orbitals. In the case of T2Z, you have a rise of plus 2 by 5 times, quite reverse, times of delta T. So what is this delta T? It is the crystal field splitting energy in the case of tetrahedral, and a decrease by 3 by 5 times of delta T. So just recall what kind of splitting was noticed in the octahedral. This a rise easy by 3 by 5 times, and this was a less decrease in the energy by 2 by 5 times, minus it was minus 2 by 5 times of delta O in the octahedral, plus 3 by times of delta O in the octahedral. Exactly quite invert, a reverse of the octahedral splitting, what is there in the tetrahedral splitting. Come on, I go back. Tetrahedral splitting. So in the tetrahedral complex, the ligand, the metal ion is surrounded by 4 ligands, not necessarily in the tetrahedral manner. Do remember, I repeat, as the metal ion is surrounded by 4 ligands. Because of the 4 ligands around the metal ion, there is a lesser repulsion between the orbital and the orbitals of the ligand. So lesser repulsion that compared to octahedral complexes. As a result of this, what happens? The d orbital get excited and that splits into 2 sets, T2Z, higher, EZ, lower. Why dxy, dyz, dxz, they form the higher energy set? Because these orbitals of the metal ion, they were quite closer to the direction of ligand. As a result, there is a greater repulsion, by which you can notice an increase in the energy of dxy, dyz, dxz by a unit of plus 2 by 5 times of delta T. Delta T is nothing but, as you know, the crystal field splitting energy is denoted by delta if subscript T is mentioned in the tetrahedral. If O is mentioned, it is in the case of octahedral. Now, as these are not quite away from the direction of ligands, which one, dx square minus y square and dz square, as they are quite away from the direction of ligand, there is a lesser repulsion, by which you notice a decrease in the energy of these two orbitals of the metal ion, and they form the lower energy set called EG set, called EG T2G, quite opposite what we have seen in the octahedral complexes. Well, let's have a glance on this. After this, dear students, the two theories as per the syllabus we have completed. One was the valence bond theory, there we have seen 4 examples, and the crystal field theory, here we have collected 2 application part. Let's go to collect the limitations. So what are the limitations of crystal field theory? Let's collect the limitations of crystal field theory as orally to tell you what are the limitations. The limitations of crystal field theory. Limitations of crystal field theory. See, what are the limitations of crystal field theory? First point to tell you, see, it cannot explain about the coloration of the complexes. Not explained about the coloration of the complexes. The complexes, they do give different colors when they were dissolved in the water, and this which was not explained by crystal field theory. The theory fails to explain about the different colors that are going to given by different complexes in the water, which was not explained by this theory. Second, it could not explain about the covalent bonding nature. So it fails to explain what the covalent bonding character. It fails to explain the covalent bonding character or a nature between metal and ligand. Even this theory fails to explain the covalent character, as there is a coordinate bond, but as for in this theory, it was considered the electrostatic force of attraction. That's why this theory fails to explain the covalent character or covalent bonding character between the metal and the ligand. And regarding the one more limitation, so here in the complexes containing anion as ligands, I'll repeat, in the complexes containing anion as ligands, so what we expect, anion with a negative sign, there must be a greater repulsion. Because of the greater repulsion, the anions must act as a strong ligand. The anions must act like a strong ligand, but when you see the spectrochemical series, what anions are considered as the weak ligands. Anions are placed at the left, at the left end of the spectrochemical series, which is a quite contradiction as per this theory is considered. See, it could not explain, it fails to explain. Actually, anions must act like a strong ligand, but in the spectrochemical series, they were placed at the left end. That means regarding fails to explain fails to explain regarding the weak nature of negatively charged ligands. Negatively charged ligands in the sense anions as F minus, Cl minus, I minus, those are considered as weak ligands in the spectrochemical series. So actually, as per this theory, there must be a greater repulsion in case if the complex contains anion as a ligand, there must be a greater repulsion between the ligand and the central metal ion. But when there is a greater repulsion, and definitely there must be a greater splitting. There must be a splitting of d orbitals with a large gap of energy differences. Crystal field splitting energy must be a higher value, but that could not seen. But not so much of greater splitting was not noticed in the octahedral as well as tetrahedral. That's why they act like a weak ligand. The anions were considered as a weak ligand, and as a result they were placed at the left end of the spectrochemical series. So these are the three limitations of crystal field splitting theory or crystal field theory. Well, dear students, in the crystal field theory we have collected the splitting in the octahedral complexes and splitting in the tetrahedral complexes, and we have collected what is crystal field splitting and what is meant by crystal field splitting energy, followed by the spectrochemical series. Spectrochemical series, where the ligands were arranged in the increasing order of their splitting energy or the splitting energy values. So that is what and lastly we have collected the limitations of crystal field splitting theory. First limitation, it could not explain about the color. The complexes, they give different coloration, could not explain about the coloration of the complexes or colored complexes. Second, fails to explain about the covalent bonding character between the metal and the ligand, and followed by, as per this theory, anions must act like a strong ligand, but instead they were weak ligands. As a result, they were placed at the beginning of the spectrochemical series or left of the spectrochemical series. Come on, as a last point, we shall go to collect about the bondings in metal carbonyls. Last part, let's collect bondings in metal carbonyls. Well students, so the last part of the topic, coordination compounds, which is retained in the syllabus, which is the bonding in metal carbonyls. Bonding in metal carbonyls I have shown diagrammatically here. This is a metal, central metal ion with 5 d orbitals, and the carbon monoxide as a ligand, CO as a ligand. First, let's understand what are metal carbonyls. See, one more question, dear students. Metal carbonyls, I repeat this part. What are metal carbonyls? So these are the compounds. These are the coordination compounds. So these are coordination compounds. These are compounds, are the coordination compounds. These are coordination compounds. These are coordination compounds containing carbon monoxide as ligands. So what are metal carbonyls? Well students, metal carbonyls are those compounds. Metal carbonyls are those complex compounds or coordination compounds containing carbon monoxide as ligands. Containing carbon monoxide as ligands, those are called metal carbonyls. Well, dear students, next point is, What next point? Let's collect the examples. What are the examples of metal carbonyls? Familiar neutral complexes. One is tetracarbonyl nickel. Tetracarbonyl nickel is an example of a metal carbonyl. And pentacarbonyl iron. So FeCO taken 5 times. So this is a pentacarbonyl iron. So you can have the bonding between the nickel and a carbon monoxide, nickel tetracarbonyl. And here you have iron pentacarbonyl. And if you looked into the structure also, structure as a nickel tetracarbonyl is a tetrahedral. See, here nickel is at the central and carbonyl. So carbon monoxide as a ligand at the center where it is making a coordinate bond. So tetrahedral in shape. And looking into pentacarbonyl iron, so you have, so that is a CO, like this. These are the related structures. So nickel tetracarbonyl, iron pentacarbonyl, and you can have cobalt hexacarbonyl also. Cobalt hexacarbonyl or chromium. If you take chromium hexacarbonyl, CrCO6 times. Here chromium is at the center and 6 carbon monoxide as a ligand at the 6 corners of a octahedron. You have at the 6 corners of a octahedron like this with respect to this compound CO, carbon monoxide. And 6th carbon monoxide where they were pointed towards the 6 corners of a regular octahedron. These are the related structures of metal carbonyls. Well, here I have shown this is a metal with 5 d orbitals, and this carbon with its orbitals, which has made a carbon oxygen bonding. We come to know from the chemical bonding of first year idea, carbon oxygen triple bonded. Come on, let's see about the metal carbon of the carbonyl. So here you have, the question has appeared, what type of bondings are there between the metal and carbon of the carbon monoxide? Let us glance on nature of bonding in the metal carbonyls. Well, dear students, metal carbonyls, they contain both sigma bond as well as pi bonding. So as a knowledge question, so what type of bondings or what type of chemical bonds are there between the metal and carbon of the carbonyl ligand? See, metal carbonyls, they contain both sigma bond as well as pi bonding character. Sigma bond and pi bonding character. Let us see how we are going to notice with this diagram. Sigma and pi bond character is noticed between the metal and carbon of the carbonyl. See, metal carbonyls contain, first point, metal carbonyls contain, I can write, contain both sigma and pi bonds. Contains, I can write, metal carbonyls contains both sigma bond as well as pi bond. They contain both sigma bond as well as pi bond. So how we come to know about the formation of a sigma bond? See, metal carbonyl sigma bond, metal carbonyl sigma bond is formed. Metal carbonyl sigma bond is formed. Do understand? Metal carbonyl sigma bond is formed by the donation of lone pair of electrons from the orbit of from the orbital of carbon, from the orbital of carbon to the vacant d orbital of the metal ion. Here you can see, so the direction, so this orbit, this orbital of the carbon, middle one, as there are 2px, 2py, 2pz, the p, one of the p orbital containing lone pair of electron of the carbon that donates a lone pair of electron to the vacant d orbital of the metal ion, thus forming what? Sigma bond. Thus forming a sigma bond. How it is formed? By the donation of lone pair of electron from the orbital of the carbon atom with the vacant orbital of the metal ion, forming a sigma bond. Come on, what next? Pi bond. Metal carbon pi bond. Metal carbon pi bond is formed by the donation of lone pair of electron from filled orbital, from the filled d orbital. Do notice, from the filled d orbital of metal ion, from the filled d orbital of the metal ion with vacant pi star orbital, with vacant pi star orbital of carbon monoxide. So that I can show you here, as these are the 5 degenerate orbitals of the metal ion, 5 degenerate orbital. So one sigma bond has formed already by the donation of electron pair from the pi orbital of the what is called carbon with the vacant orbital of the ligand, central metal ion. A sigma bond is formed. Now how this pi bonding is formed? It is by the what is called the donation of lone pair of electron with the lone pair of electron from the filled orbital of this with the vacant orbital, pi star vacant orbital of the carbon, forming the pi bond. So this nature of bonding is called pi bonding. This nature of bonding is called back bonding. What it is called? Back bonding. So the filled d orbital of the metal ion donating a lone pair of electron to the vacant pi star orbital of the carbon, thus forming a bond called pi bond, and this pi bonding what is called terminology as a back bonding. Thus it is represented. And finally, one term one should know, what is a synergic bond or the synergic effect. So why it is called synergic bonding? Do remember what is synergic effect? Synergic effect is nothing but the formation of pi bond. Followed by the formation of sigma bond will strengthen the bonding of the sigma bonding, character, and that is called as synergic bond or synergic effect. What is synergic effect? Synergic effect is nothing but the formation of pi bond by the back bonding, formation of pi bond between the metal and carbon. The formation of a pi bond strengthens the sigma bond character, strengthens the sigma bond character between metal and a carbon. The formation of the pi bond by the back bonding will strengthen the sigma bond character between the metal and a carbon, and that effect what is called as synergic effect, and that bonding is called synergic bonding. Because of the formation of a pi bond by the back bonding, the sigma bond and the bonding between the metal and carbon is going to be strengthened. Those were the bonding character between the metal and carbon were strengthened, and that effect is called synergic effect, and that bonding is called synergic bond. Come on, let's go to collect over the removed part of the syllabus or the topic, which is isomerism. That part has totally removed as a glance, but in the competitive exam you get the questions over the isomerism part. Let me glance shortly or briefly over the isomerism part with the flow chart, with the help of this schematic representation. Isomerism in the coordination compounds, which has a removed part of the syllabus, removed part. Dear students, this isomerism, as you know, there are two types. Isomerism is classified into two types. One is a structural isomerism, another is a geometrical structural isomerism, and the another one is a stereoisomerism. What is that? Stereoisomerism. See here, dear students, the structural isomerism are further divided into four types. So they were divided further into four types. Number one is the ionization isomerism. Second one is linkage isomerism. Third one is hydrate isomerism. Fourth one is coordination isomerism. I do repeat, mainly the isomerism in the coordination compounds is divided into two types. One is a structural isomerism, stereoisomerism. From basic idea you come to know. So the structural isomerism further divided into four types: ionization isomerism, linkage isomerism, hydrate isomerism, coordination isomerism. Now coming to this stereoisomerism, which is divided into geometrical isomerism, and the next one is optical isomerism. Well, dear students, in briefly, what about ionization isomerism? The coordination compounds, they contain the same molecular formula, but they produce different ions when they dissolved in the water. Molecular formula remains same, but they producing the different ions in water. Then what about linkage? The molecular formula remains the same, but there is a difference in the linkage between the ligand with the central metal ion, such as if it is a nitro NO2 ligand, N may link with the metal ion, or O may link with the metal ion. That is what linkage isomerism. Hydrate, molecular formula of the coordination compound remains same, but they contain water as a ligand, but they contain water molecule as a ligand, different number of water molecule as a ligand. That is the only difference you can notice. The number of water molecule remains same, but number of water molecule acting as a ligand is a differ in those coordination compounds, which are called hydrate isomerism. Then coordination isomerism, The coordination isomerism, the molecular formula remains same, but the entity, the coordination entity, they differ. Ligand they exchange with the central metal ion, which is coordination isomerism. Coming to geometrical isomerism. See, what is this geometrical isomerism? The complexes with the formula mx2, complexes with the formula mx2l2, so mx2l4, mx3l3. So these complexes, they do show geometrical isomerism. Geometrical means they differ in the spatial arrangement of ligands in a space. Spatial arrangement of ligands, they differ with mx2l2 formula, mx2l4. So this is a tetrahedral complex, octahedral complex, the octahedral complex containing the different ligands. See, X and L indicating the ligand. Here M is the metal ion. mx2l2, mx2l4, mx3l3, they do show the geometrical isomerism. Geometrical isomerism is also called cis-trans isomerism also. Coming to the optical isomerism, see, the complexes containing bidentate ligand, the complex containing the bidentate ligand, they do usually show the optical isomerism. The optical isomerism isomers are those which contain the mirror images, which are non-superimposable mirror images. There is a chiral carbon, active carbon. So these are isomers which are the mirror images with each other, and non-superimposable mirror images will show the optical isomerism, where you have levorotatory and dextrorotatory, and that is the part with respect to optical isomerism. But even though it has removed, but is given in the hard copy. Hope you notice and practice over those examples. And with this, dear students, I conclude the today's video, and it is the last video over the coordination compounds. Thank you. Do watch the videos, practice it, and get perfect. Thank you, dear students.